The Ultimate 1 Megabyte was designed in around about 2011 by Sebastian Bartkovets, otherwise known as Candlo Sin. The objective was to provide 1 megabyte of RAM because there'd been several prior attempts at 1 megabyte upgrades, including a SIM-based upgrade, which I actually had installed in the machine. But he wanted something that was easy to install, reliable, and fairly neat and self-contained. Now, the Ultimate 1 Megabyte contains more than just a RAM upgrade. It also includes multiple operating system ROMs, various versions of BASIC, different game ROMs for the XEGS when it's in XEGS mode, built-in Sparta-DOS X, of course, what doesn't have that nowadays, and a range of other features, and it eventually expanded the capabilities of this board after the event with the revision 2 CPLD code to work as a PBI hard disk in conjunction with a side cartridge and later the side 2 cartridge. And it's a very prolific device, very reasonably priced, and it's gained a lot of traction in the community. I think the install base is certainly in the high hundreds now, if not beyond. I don't have any exact figures on that, but kind of working it out, judging by the way that the units have been moving, especially since they became available in Litharek's online store. So today we're going to install one in an Atari 800 XL, start to finish, step by step, but we're going to get through it quite briskly, and so let's get to it. Okay, so I was flicking through the old back catalogue there, and I noticed that, well, this was actually after somebody was asking for a video showing Ultimate 1 Megabyte being installed in an 800 XL, and I noticed I didn't actually have a video of an 800 XL installation, which, well, at least one that had the Ultimate board in the usual position, the position I would normally recommend it's put in, which is the same position that Candle originally recommended. So this machine has come all the way from the USA. I'll take the keyboard out. Keyboard mylar is looking a little bit worse for wear. It's all the tarnishing on here. Hopefully that's not going to create problems. Well, actually, if it does create problems, well, we hope it does create problems because we've got a new mylar, but that's for another video. So anyway, shield's off already, which is good news. Makes life a little bit easier. So let's just get all the screws out of the board, and we will press on. Now the bottom shield's still here, so we'll just put that to one side and pop all these fitments off here, put those to one side as well. Okay, so we've got MTD RAMs here, which is notoriously unreliable, but I'm not going to worry too much because they're in sockets, so the owner of the machine can easily replace those if they need to be replaced at any time. So the first thing we need to do is get these chips off the board. To get the OS ROM off the board, we're going to add a little bit of lead solder here, just to soften things up a little bit. Let's get to it. Okay, so that's the operating system ROM off the board, and came off very nicely. Now, while the board's still nice and hot, I'm going to add a bit of flux actually first, and then I'm going to add some lead solder. So we can usually get through about clear 2 holes at once if we're lucky and the board's feeling cooperative. Okay, so that's most of it off. Add a little bit more flux and go over it with a bit of wick. So we'll go gently with the wick because wick, especially if you happen to try and drag it while the heat isn't applied, you can do some fairly serious damage pulling things off the board. So we try to be fleet and light of hand. And that all looks absolutely fine. Now we're going to clean that off with a bit of isopropyl. Now I find that there's no real need to use acetone for this. I used to use acetone before, but now that I've got a stronger blend, proper 99% stuff, this it's a lot easier. And now I'll let you have a look at how it looks. So there's our, how close I can get. There's the top side of the board, and there's the bottom side of the board. So ready now for the socket. Okay, so before we do the socket on the operating system ROM, let's take off the MMU. We might as well get the desoldering side of things done first. Get this off because it's in the way. Okay, and we're just going to do the same basic procedure. Alright, here we go. I should push this screen back. I thought it was a little bit far forward. I keep hitting it with the board and end up scratching the thing. So there's our MMU cleared, ready to go with an eye socket. So we'll put both sockets in now. So I'm fairly happy that there's no signs of damage here. It was an extremely clean removal, so I'm not going to bother pinging out all the connections. What I will do is I'll put these sockets in and then establish whether the system still powers up with the original chips and the sockets, and then we know everything is good. So I'm going to tack the corners first, and then we can push down on the middle and apply some heat, and then we know that the socket is flat on the board. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just a bit of flux residue and whatnot there, but I mean, you can see the little dome shape. It looks pretty good. So we're going to whack the original chips in. It should go in without too much problem. Too many problems, I should say. There you go, that's it. Right, quick power on test, just to establish that the thing still works. And it does. Alright, so where we left this previously, on the previous scene, I had socketed the OS ROM and the MMU in preparation for fitting the Ultimate 1MB board, which we're going to fit over here. I've done a few other things in the meantime because I have to kind of keep things going in parallel here just to get everything done. Put a socket under the GTIA and the CPU. The reason for that will become apparent in a later video. So anyway, what I'm going to do is mark off a couple of holes here where we're going to put the screw holes for the Ultimate 1MB. And we don't do one hole here, we do two holes. One of the holes is going to go dead center between these two screws here. I'll just put a little mark there, if you can see that one. About 6.7 millimeters, thereabouts, should do the trick. Yeah, because I've got to miss that trace, of course, over this side here. But anyway, I'm going to go away and drill them. I'll show you now how to drill holes. Okay, we've got our holes drilled here. Nice little pair of holes there. There we go. So everything we need to actually fit these standoffs. I'm going to fit the board first, then get an idea of where how the cables are going to have to be altered. Or just loosely fit the board rather. So that pops on there, it sits beautifully. So if you can see that there from the back or from the side. So that's going to sit, there you are, it's just going to sit, the battery is just going to be above there. Obviously the OS ROM won't be there, the cable will be there instead. So cable's going to sit in here, board's going to sit here, cable needs to come up like so, go twist round like this, and so as you can see there's a significant amount of extra length here that we need to get rid of. So we're just going to put a new connector right on here, and we'll take into account leave some spare for the strain relief, etc. So let's get ourselves a new connector. Now I happen to put these, I'll mark off roughly where this needs to go actually. Yeah, I think around about here should do the trick. No problem at all. Alright, so I'm going to clamp this in the vise. I'm going to check it's straight first, and it is in the correct position because you only get one try at this. And put it in the vise, tighten it up. Okay, so then it's going to bend back on itself like so. Yes, that's correct. So that's, there you go, it's going to go in like that. It's going to be perfect. Excellent. I'm going to trim the cable a little bit so it looks a bit neater. There we go. And we bend it back. And put the strain relief clip on. So hopefully you can see what we've done here. So this originally came out the connector this way, and we want it to go over this way, so I've repositioned the cable so it enters from a different direction. Hopefully that will all go on very nicely indeed. I'm not going to fit it yet because I've got to solder some wires first, but that looks like it's going to sit quite nicely. I may have to plane a little bit off the front of this clip just to get it to clear the keyboard later on, but we won't worry about that just for the moment. So well, I might as well do the I'll just lie that on there loosely for a minute and we'll do the other cable. Right, so we're going to dismantle this carefully so we don't break it. I have got spares, but I would prefer not to have to use them if I can avoid it. So you can see it's got these little clips here. If we just get the thing in focus. Come on. Yeah, it's got these little clips. I'm just trying to pry them first from the... Am I prying these from the right way? No, I'm not. Pry them from the outside first. That's right. To pop them out, hopefully. They're not really designed to be taken apart, that's the trouble. But with a bit of persistence you can get them to come apart. And get them to come apart in such a way that they'll go back together again. This is the more important thing. So once you've pried those little clips in over, then we have to pry them out over again to clear the second hurdle, and there it's off. Very good. Now carefully pull this off here. Try not to destroy the pins. And what I want to do, and then we're going to go like that. Ah, right, and then we're going to go like that. Ah, so it's done right. It's sort of going like this sort of route here, you see. To do this correctly, I think we'd better put the ultimate board on the board, just temporarily, so we can not bother with the washers or anything just at the moment. I just want to have the thing in position so we get this right. And I mean, this is a relatively easy upgrade to install. What I'm showing you how to do is do it the way I consider it to be the correct way to do it. You could certainly screw the thing onto the board with one standoff. You could leave the cables the original length and just fold them under each other. If you want to do that, you don't really need a video like this. You just need to solder 4 wires into position, if you see what I mean. So right, so if we, that should work. So I want the thing attached just about here. Okay, try and cut it square if possible, reasonably square. So it's going to go in here. Put this the right way around so we've got the pin numbers correctly oriented. Okay, clip that back on. Get it so that it's nice and straight. We'll flatten it out just until I get the thing on. And then I'm going to put this here. And I'm going to put the whole contraption into the vise, which you probably want to see, I suppose. Okay. Hopefully this works. There we go. That should work. I'm going to trim this spare cable off the edge here. Just do slice it on the edge of the table, close to the edge. So we get a nice clean cut. And if I can remember how it twists around, if I look at the picture that I made, which as I say, I'll edit into the video later on. So it goes like that, then it goes like that. Yeah, that's it. Candle came up with the original twisty-turny methods for positioning these cables originally. So anyway, that's how that's going to go on. it'll work. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and the cable runs very short, so you're not going to add a great deal of capacitance to the bus by having huge lengths of wire on the system. So we'll assume they're going to work, and what we can now do, using the little wiring diagram I made earlier today, which I'm going to put into the video as well, so you'll see it here with the hookup points for the 4 wires, and we'll solder them up and we should get a working system. But as I say, I mean, it may sort of seem like I'm being didactic about how to install this thing, but this is a really great spot for it if you have nothing else in the way here. But anyway, so I prepared this earlier on because you don't really need to see me crimping cables and such. So this wire here, pin 1, is the O2 clock signal, and we're going to pick that. Helpfully happens to be, I'll show you, point to it. Now, never mind about this soldering stuff to the CPU. We pick it up from there. That via the second one from the top, O2. In fact, I'll point the rest of them out now. The reset signal is taken from here, the 6th one along on that straight row, and read write comes from here, that one there. Yeah, halt you can take from here, right there, that lowest further forward via behind antic. Okay, so the top one is the O2 clock, and that's going to go down here, so it doesn't need to be very long. I'm going to shorten it a little bit. So we'll just get these tinned. It's going to go right in here. Is the hole already clear? It certainly is. Looks perfectly reasonable. Trim that. There we are. Right, so there's our wires in position. It seems like it's going to be okay. So now we can put the screws back in, tie everything up, and give it a whirl. Of course, with this screw in position on this side, you may find it blocks the little pylons on the motherboard, so it may be necessary to file those down so you can get the motherboard to sit flat on the board. Little standoffs, slide them over the screws. So I would say if you're going to do things this way, I would budget about, let's think. Well, you've got to put the sockets on. Yeah, you should be able to get this done in an evening without any problems at all. But yeah, this is just a fairly short evening's work if you're going to do it like this. If you're going to do it quick and dirty, it takes a lot less time, without a doubt. But I think when they do get sent here, they get sent here for a reason, so don't like to disappoint. So that's going to go on here. So that you can see this is going to kind of snuggle in behind the cartridge pylon. Okay, so that's going to go like so. Now you can fiddle on and tidy up and root things later on, but you can get the general idea. I'm at the bottom corner of the frame here for some reason. There you get the general idea. There's basically the installation, and we can pop the pylon back on. A bit dusty. Just make sure that fits. I'll be taking this off again anyway because I want to add power to the PBI connector before we finish off. But we'll put it back on for now. There we go, nice tight fit. So you can see everything fits really nicely. This will just tuck out of the way when you put the lid back on the machine without any problems at all. So there we are. Now what I'm going to do before we do a power up test is I'm going to wire up the chroma. All done. So now we should have a working machine. Alright, so I've just grabbed the tripod, set up the other camera. So we'll do a power up test with this freshly installed Ultimate 1 megabyte. Let's see if it works, and it appears to work. Yeah, we've got audio, we've got booting sounds. I wonder why it hasn't gone straight to the menu. I think it must have been tested. They used to ship with the NVRAM completely clear, and they would jump straight into the BIOS when you first turned them on. Quickly rig the keyboard up. I'm not sure if the keyboard even works well on this machine, but we'll give it a try. Right, we've got the keyboard on there, after a fashion. Try not to short anything out. Does the help key work? Oh, it does not. Oh, it does. Oh, crap. Okay, so we've, this is the old, this keyboard seems to work reasonably well. Good God, look at that. Those colours. Well, the difference between the NTSC and the PAL palette, those colours didn't really come out that well, because on a PAL machine it all looks green, but on here it's a kind of a mixture of green and blue. Anyway. So yeah, so that works. So I think what we'll do is we'll update the BIOS, because I've been asked to do that. There we are. Okay, so if we go to drive B, the left shift key doesn't work. It's going to be difficult. No, not responding. Am I still on the wrong? Is this plugged in? Because of course I forget every time. So what I've done here is I've got the high-speed operating system. This is an object lesson actually. I've got the high-speed patched operating system that ships with the Ultimate board activated. I've set the SIO speed on SIO to PC to 0, divisor 0, 127 kilobits per second. And I'm sitting here wondering why the computer can't read the drive. It's because it's using the Sparta-DOS X SIO driver, which can't handle that speed. So I've dropped it down to divisor 6. And now we should get some activity. There we go. I'm going to do the whole ROM. Yes. It's going to be a bit slower than it would be at divisor 0, but I'll speed it up. Well, completed successfully. That's what I like to see. Very good. Now we should be able to, in fact we'll do a power cycle, which I keep telling everybody to do after upgrading the firmware. Here we go, we can set the clock and do all that good stuff. There we go. We don't need that. Well, we can put that on just for the high-speed SIO. There we go. Have a nice basic. That all looks good to me. So let's reboot. There you go, with the latest firmware. I haven't even released this yet. There we go. That's how late this is. So that's how we install an Ultimate 1 MB board in an Atari 800XL. So hope you found that one interesting and educational. And if you enjoyed this one, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and please comment below any opinions you might have or any feedback. I always appreciate that. I keep forgetting to ask about that as well. So yes, comments are welcome. And so yes, I'll see you in the next video.